Hello there, lovely people, it's Alex from Nintendo Life here. Now, if you've played Super Mario Odyssey, then no doubt you'll know that it is a fantastic game. I don't think there are going to be very many people watching this video that would argue against that. Or if they are, why are you watching this video? And I don't think it's an original thought to think, where are they going to go from here? And is there any possibility of a direct sequel or maybe even just some DLC for Super Mario Odyssey on the Switch? And I'm here to say, probably. I think for me the most wonderful thing about Odyssey is how they took Super Mario Galaxy and thought, where can we go from this? And they just thought, let's just go back down to the planet. Let's just enjoy the planet and see the other areas that we haven't seen before. It's just genius, it's wonderful. And there is so much they can do with the formula of Super Mario Odyssey, and more particularly, you know, in regards to the kingdoms and things like that. There are so many different ideas that they could employ, so many different lands. In fact, I even came up with some ideas of my own. Calm. Because the only theme that Nintendo is sticking to is just new worlds, they're not restricted in any way. For example, in Galaxy, it kind of had to be its own little planet and things like that, or little, you know, sort of star or clusters of things like that. It couldn't be contiguous in the same way, or, you know, sort of, I suppose it could have been, but it wouldn't have felt quite like Mario Galaxy. But with this, with Odyssey, anything goes, honestly. They've done so many different ideas, and there are so many more they could do. But anyway, I did say I came up with some ideas myself, so here they are for you. And these are just, you know, these are really quick. I've put almost no thought into these. The Paint Kingdom, an entirely art-styled thing where you run around and there are brushes and there are paint pots everywhere, and you can jump in. Maybe there are pools of paint and things like that, or the entire area is surrounded by paint. And you know, the things that you could do. I mean, I don't want to bring it up, but Super Mario Paper Mario Color Splash, that employed paint in a really interesting way. And, you know, Color Splash wasn't brilliant. I mean, it was pretty good, but it wasn't brilliant. And yet there are still some ideas in there that would work really well in Odyssey. Things like, you know, sort of painting areas to unlock new areas and things like that. Maybe by capturing an enemy that is a paintbrush or a big paint bucket that can spill its stuff out. You know, the ideas, you know, that's just that. I'm just riffing now. The Primordial Kingdom, perhaps an area of the planet that hasn't changed since life very first developed, and there are just these sort of little blob creatures that are like these sort of primordial amoeba sort of soupy things. I know that's not quite what happened in the primordial soup, but bear with me. And there's meteors coming down. You know, the place is hostile. It's really, really hostile. And maybe it's sort of semi-lava themed, but not entirely, you know, sort of it's just craggy and rocky, and there's almost no life. And Mario has to run around and he has to capture the few sort of little bits of life that are starting to come alive. And they're really basic, and Mario has to control an amoeba. Let it happen. The Subterranean Kingdom. It's underground. It's full of moles. Monty moles! Monty moles, they could be everywhere. And you could throw your cap and you could capture Monty moles, and maybe you could dig underground and stuff like that in various areas. Honestly, oh, imagine if you could actually, like, see through the ground and dig through it as though you were, like, quote-unquote, swimming. But you couldn't pop out as Mario because you'd not drown, but you'd, like, suffocate in the sand or something. I don't know why I said sand. The Scrapyard Kingdom, a kingdom that is entirely built out of recycled materials and, you know, sort of old bits of machinery and things like that. And the entire area, it's built up like a city or a town or something with structures, but it's all made out of old bits and bobs here and there. A bit like there was something like that on Futurama. Kind of like that. You could capture one of those crane things and the arm goes down and goes and it crushes cars and stuff like that. You could capture that in order to get moons. Probably. The Viscera Kingdom, but probably not with that name. A kingdom that is entirely inside some sort of gigantic beast, like some sort of giant worm that allows these creatures to live within it. It just, you know, it's big open gaping maw or something like that, simply because they're beneficial to it. You know, it's sort of a symbiotic relationship, and so you've got these creatures in there that clean it and, you know, maintain it. Again, Futurama, like the worms. There's a lot of Futurama in here. But there could be giant viruses and parasites and things like that, and you got to capture them and you got to save this beast, and the beast is not only an environment but also a character in itself. I think that could work really well. The Giga Kingdom, where everything is huge. I know it's been done before, but this time you don't have to maybe, like, you know, in the tiny huge island in Super Mario 64, you went into a pipe and then came out and everything was small or big depending on which side you're in before. But this time you don't do that. Instead, everything's massive, but if you want to navigate it like a normal human being, you can do so by capturing various enemies that just so happen to be just as big as the environment, and you can move around freely. Kind of like the dinosaur, the T-Rex thing. The Deep Sea Kingdom, actually on the sea floor. Not just, you know, sort of like, oh, it's like the Seaside Kingdom, but like the entire thing is on the ocean floor. Mario has to, you know, so Mario can just breathe. I mean, he went to the moon, he'll be fine. And maybe the gravity is heavier because you're closer to the center of the Earth. So unlike the Moon Kingdom, where it's really light and airy, you've got to be more careful, more precise about your jumps because the gravity is so much greater. And there could even be underwater pools of brine and stuff, because they exist underwater, so they can actually act like water, but Mario's kind of acting like it's air in the normal one, because that's how it works. Look it up. Thanks, Blue Planet 2. The Koopa Kingdom. We've seen in Super Mario Odyssey that Koopas are not enemies. So why not? What is it like where they come from? Let's find out about where the Koopas themselves live and how, you know, sort of their political system works. I don't know. Maybe what they eat? That could be interesting. The Medical Kingdom, an entire area that is just a hospital for the entire planet. And it's like an airport, and you've got these ambulances flying off and going to pick and help people and things like that, but it's all medical based. And there are, you know, giant syringes and viruses. We're back to giant viruses again. You could even have the germs from Dr. Mario come back, and of course there's already a Dr. Mario outfit, so that fits as well. If Peach goes there, she could be Nurse Peach. Done. Or maybe she's a doctor, maybe, I don't know whether she's got the qualifications. Come to think of it, I don't know whether Mario has the qualifications. But there is so much thematic scope for Super Mario Odyssey, and that's only, you know, sort of barely scratching the surface, let alone getting into things like different capture abilities and stuff like that. I know I touched briefly, but even so, you know, to get into more detail, obviously there'd have to be a lot more captures and stuff like that, but it could easily be done. And there is so much they could do. I honestly, I would put not all the money I had, but quite a lot of money on that, quite a lot of the money that I own, saying that there's going to be Super Mario Odyssey 2 or DLC. To be honest, I think it's probably going to be Super Mario Odyssey. There is so much scope that just DLC I don't think is going to cut it, and the amount that they could put into a new game would warrant a new game rather than just DLC. And I think that there are so many ideas out there that it would be much more justifiable to have an entirely new game given the amount of time it would probably take to program. And what's more, it could even expand the lore of Mario. I know there isn't that much lore per se, but we know that Bowser is the bad guy, Mario's the good guy, and Pauline, so there is some consistency there. It was really nice to see Pauline come back, so maybe some other characters from the past could come back, or maybe just Donkey Kong, that would do as well. Having said that, I'm still not entirely certain that it won't just be DLC, because of course DLC can be drip-fed, and they can, you know, sort of develop a few areas and then put it out, and then develop a few more and then put it out, and it'll keep bringing people back to Super Mario Odyssey rather than an entirely new game. But I don't know, we've seen it done with Super Mario Galaxy 2, so I think it is entirely possible that we're going to get a straight sequel to this game, rather than just, you know, Super Mario a new thing. I absolutely love everything that they've done with Super Mario Odyssey, and I'm so excited to see more of it. And to be honest, I think it's almost an inevitability. It's been so well received, there is so much more they can do, and I think people will be willing to pay for it. I know I will. But anyway, enough of what I think. What do you think? Have you got any ideas for kingdoms that you'd like to see? Or do you think the whole thing is complete hogwash? Let us know down there in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you click on that subscribe button and then enjoy subscribe button 2 on the same channel. Don't just click it twice because you won't subscribe. And be sure to check out nintendolife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye bye.